Hello, Connect Groups. Welcome back. Hope that you guys are already having a fantastic time. As you can tell, this is not our usual spot, but we are here this week in Cambodia. And I wanted to take a few minutes to talk to you guys as you meet together in your groups, to invite you in a little bit to what we're doing here and the opportunity that we have here as a church, but also to talk to us on a theme this evening. You know, Cambodia is part of our missions expression as a church, and we truly believe that as a church that we're called to be people who make a difference, who have an influence in the world around us, whether that's in towns across the north of England or whether it's in the wider world, which is why we are here this week. We're involved in leadership training and discipleship of the church leaders and the church planters here so that they can continue to be an influence and make a difference in the place that God has called them. And we're just as passionate about that for what God has called us to as a church. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that this evening. I want to talk to you today on the theme of mission. Now, this might be the perfect example because we are literally out here on the mission field in Cambodia. But actually, I think if we're not careful, we limit mission to think that it's something extreme, that it's something like planting churches in Cambodia, it's feeding programs in Africa, it's street preaching in Eastern Europe. And those are all fantastic expressions of mission, but if we're not careful, we relegate mission to those extreme examples when actually the call upon each of us is for mission to be part of our everyday life. One of our core cultures as a church is to be missional. That doesn't mean to just go on mission to foreign places, but actually to be missional, to have a Christ-like approach to how we live every single day of our lives. The mandate for mission upon the church is not just for some people, but for everyone. Everyday normal people like you and me. In Matthew chapter 28, we read what we call the Great Commission, where Jesus says, go into all the world and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and then teaching them to obey everything that I have told you. He puts it this way in Mark chapter 16. He says, go and reach the whole world, preach the gospel to all creation. And so all of us have a part to play in missional activity. To go into all the world includes places like Cambodia, but it also includes your office, your classroom, your army regiment, your schoolyard, your community, your family, wherever it is that God has placed you. He has a call upon you through the Great Commission to go into your world to advance the gospel. So I want us to pause for a second and answer our first question, which is this: what does mission mean to you? So we are talking about mission and how every single one of us has a part to play. That it's not just supposed to be left to missionaries, but actually the role of mission is for people like you and me. Matthew chapter 5 is where Jesus gives that great verse where he talks and he says, you are the light of the world. And when Jesus was talking, he wasn't saying it to priests or to pastors or to professional Christians. He wasn't even saying it to a church or a collective group of Christians. Jesus said, you are the light of the world, and he talked to individuals like you and me about how the light and the love of Christ that is inside of us was called to be put on display by ordinary people in a missional way. And I want us to understand that that light, that love, is the call that God has placed upon us, that mission doesn't have to be extreme, that mission can be something that we do every day. Some of you will have seen over the last couple of years that I wear this wristband on my wrist, and I've been wearing it now for a number of years. And on my very first trip to Cambodia in 2015, I bought the wristband from a girl called Satiri, who was selling products right on the riverside when you sat in the riverside, a very touristy area in restaurants, and she was walking around selling different things. And I picked up this wristband, as children often travel around those restaurants selling it. I bought it as to give some support to this girl who was begging on the streets, but I also bought it as a reminder, not of just that girl, but actually a reminder of what God was starting to birth in my heart for the nation of Cambodia. On that first trip, God really opened my eyes to the role that we have as a church to serve and to equip these people. And I wanted something that I could carry on an everyday basis to remind me on that it didn't just become a distant memory of something that happened, but actually it was something that of igniting that heart that God was giving us for the nation that I didn't want to forget. And maybe you don't need a wristband. Maybe you don't need something round your neck as a reminder, but all of us need to keep in mind the mission that God has called us to. Wherever it is that you live, wherever it is that you work, wherever God has positioned you, He has placed you there with a purpose in mind. And sometimes we miss out on missional opportunities because they look too ordinary. Maybe the missional opportunity that God is presenting you with looks like just another Monday morning in the office. Looks like just another day in a school classroom. Looks like the same people that you stand next to at the bus stop every day. The same people on the train. The same people that you talk to on the school run every day. Maybe it looks like an ordinary, everyday situation. But that is where God is calling us to be missional people. We need to see the opportunities around us. In 1 Corinthians chapter 16, Paul is coming to the end of this letter that he was writing to the church in Corinth. And in his closing remarks and his prayer requests, he brings out this fantastic verse in 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verse 7. Paul is writing to them about when he hopes to come and see them again. He says these words, "I do not want to just see you now and make only a passing visit. I hope to spend some time with you if the Lord permits." Then verse 8, this is really interesting. He says, "I will stay on in Ephesus until Pentecost because a great door of effective work has opened to me and there are many who oppose me." Now, I love this verse because it gives us an insight into Paul's missional vision that he has. He finishes the verse by saying, "There are many who oppose me." But he starts the verse by saying, "Hey, I'm going to stay here because there's an effective door that has been opened for me." So Paul chooses to stay despite the persecution, despite the opposition, because he said, "There is a great door of effective work for me here." You see, there was an opposition, but Paul understood that it was an opportunity. And maybe you face opportunity in everyday, ordinary circumstances. Maybe when we come up against something that feels like it's awkward, actually maybe that is the opportunity that God is giving us. Sometimes we miss out on those opportunities because they look too ordinary or because we're too scared to take that opportunity and say, there is a chance here for me to show and shine something of the love and the light of Jesus Christ. And so 2 questions I want us to discuss just for a couple of minutes before we finish off today in Connect. Questions are this: what are the ordinary missional opportunities that perhaps you have overlooked? And the second question is this: why would Paul choose to stay in Ephesus for mission even in the face of opposition? Why don't you discuss those for a couple of minutes, and I'll see you again soon. The final thing I want us to talk about today is the opportunity of mission that is presented to us at this time of year at Christmas. Christmas is obviously full of traditions, full of celebrations, full of time with family, and all of that is good. And all of these things are important and add great value to what we celebrate. But Christmas is also so full of opportunity for us to advance the mission of Christmas. Luke chapter 2, verse 10, when the angel appears to the shepherds, he says, "I'm bringing you good news of great joy that will be for all people." And I love that the news of Jesus Christ is good news of great joy, and it's not just for some, it is for all. And the mission that we have of Christmas is to advance that good news. You know, it never ceases to be good. It never ceases to be good that Jesus came to make a way for us. It never ceases to be good that He laid down His life, that He rose again to make a way for us to be in relationship with God. Never ceases to be good. But let me give you this challenge. It does cease to be news if it stops being told. And the good news of Christmas should never be untold. And all of us have a part to play in that mission, in the ordinary, everyday lives that we have to advance the good news of great joy that is for all people. You know, one of the things we love about the church here in Cambodia is this church behind us, Prayramia Village, a village of 200 families, about 800 to 1,000 people. And up until a few years ago, this village never celebrated Christmas because they didn't know what it was about. This nation, Cambodia, is a 98% Buddhist nation. But a few years ago, the church not only planted a school here, but they planted a church. And now many, many hundreds of people come to their Christmas celebrations because they're starting to be told about the good news of great joy that is for all people. We love the opportunity that they have here. We invest into equipping leaders and releasing staff members so that they can advance the gospel here, the good news, the mission of Christmas. But listen, the challenge is real for every single one of us. What are we going to do to advance the mission, to advance the good news of Jesus in our lives, in our everyday lives? We are excited about what God is doing through church in this season. We're excited for the Christmas opportunities that we have with the Christmas special and with everything else. But let me put the challenge to you. What are you doing with the mission of Christmas? Who is it that you are bringing the good news to? Because it's good news of great joy for all people. Final two questions this evening. What opportunities is God bringing you this Christmas? And who are you praying for this Christmas that they would get a revelation of the good news? It's getting noisy here, so I'm going to stop. Have a great time at the rest of your Connect.